Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time to talk differentials for Game Week 38. Those players who can help close the gaps on mini league targets and rank targets. Guys, we're going to show you how you're going to do that today. Leave a like, subscribe, let's get started. So yes guys, as I say, we're going to be talking about differentials this game week, and you guys know I absolutely love picking out those low ownership players that can make a real big difference to your rank. If you are going into game week 38 and you're maybe 10, 20, 30 points behind where you want to be, well, hopefully picking out one or two differential players is going to help you to close that gap. That's what differentials are all about, particularly going into game week 38, and there is some big opportunities this game week, and I'm going to start you off with some honorable mentions before we go on to my biggest and most favorite differentials for game week 38. So let's have a look through these players. First of all, let's talk about De Bruyne. Now, if he is available, he is probably going to be the most differential, I guess, premium FPL asset if you are looking to go there. Of course, Salah is another one of those premium assets that could make a bit of a difference, but I think De Bruyne will be a little bit more differential with a great opportunity at home against an incredibly poor West Ham defence. This is going to be very much fitness dependent though. I've got a couple of goalkeepers in here because I try to pick out players from all positions, and goalkeepers aren't really going to make you up the most amount of points of all positions for this game week. But Leno against Luton, I imagine Luton maybe getting a little desperate in this game, taking more shots than usual, maybe even from a distance, allowing Leno to pick up save points a little easier. And a clean sheet point is definitely something that could happen for Fulham as well, given that Luton are one of the worst attacks in the Premier League, not really taking too many great opportunities to score. Eberechi Eze is definitely a player on people's lips this game week with a great fixture against Aston Villa at home. Aston Villa no longer anything to play for, and they've been pretty bad in defence anyway, Aston Villa. So I think there could be a few goals here for Crystal Palace as they look to push up to a higher position in the table. They still do have a little bit to play for, and the form has been fantastic. Eze also possibly penalty taker, most likely penalty taker for Crystal Palace. Muniz against Luton could be interesting as well if you want to challenge Luton if they are going to go ultra aggressive in this game, trying to make up a goal scoring difference potentially there, because that's the only way that they can actually qualify to stay in the Premier League. They're going to need a huge score, Luton, so maybe they'll go ultra attacking, and therefore Fulham can capitalise, and Muniz may be able to get some goals there. Robinson, another clean sheet potential here, but also a decent amount of attacking threat for some of those Fulham fullbacks as well. Cody Gakpo is interesting against Wolves at home. Wolves are pretty much done this season, and Liverpool playing for pride. Jurgen Klopp's last game at Liverpool at home at Anfield could be interesting to try and go for something slightly different there. Obviously, Darwin Nunez not really favoured at the moment, so it is Cody Gakpo who seems to be leading the line the most at the moment. Gibbs White or Wood maybe against Burnley could be interesting as well. Gibbs White predicted to be the penalty taker for Nottingham Forest, and also this is just a decent fixture in general. Burnley already relegated. It's an opportunity here at least for the Nottingham Forest boys to go in and score a couple of goals against them. And if you do fancy anyone, it is going to be Gibbs White, it is going to be Wood. Just be aware of our knee in the final game of the season. Remember, Forest do still need to get at least a draw in this game, so they will be gunning to get some points out of this one. Castagna, similar situation to Robinson, I suppose. Castagna actually getting a few more FPL points recently. He's been on the score sheets with goals and assists recently. Verbruggen at home against Manchester United could be save points there, where you're seeing that Man United lacking a bit of firepower at the moment, particularly with Bruno Fernandes still seemingly out. So if that continues to be the case, could there be clean sheets on the line for Brighton? And Verbruggen, definitely, possibly, but Verbruggen not 100% nailed on, as we know. Munoz is a defender for Crystal Palace, but really, if anyone's watched Palace recently, they'll know that Munoz basically plays as a striker, always in the box, always super dangerous, although I think Aston Villa will probably score against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace do still have a reasonably strong defence, and if Aston Villa do rotate and stuff like that, then maybe they can keep a clean sheet. Munoz can keep a clean sheet, and, you know, attacking returns is really what what you're looking for from him because he is so advanced, always with awesome opportunities to score every game. And Adingra is kind of interesting as well. Super cheap midfielder there from Brighton, playing against this weak Manchester United team. Could be a nice opportunity there as well. But with that said, I think we need to move on to the main players for today's video. So first off, Trent Alexander-Arnold at 9.9% owned. We are going to go down all the way to the most differential player as we go down the list. But Trent is definitely a huge opportunity. And I think despite a 9.9% ownership statistic here, I think among the highly engaged managers, maybe in the top maybe 1 million ranks, Trent is going to be hardly owned by anyone. So I think at the higher ranks, he is going to be a super differential despite what you might think. So he is a player who historically has been great for goals, great for assists. He is a set piece taker, which is always useful. And although I would kind of hope he would take more key passes in recent games, his shots actually are pretty good. So 13 shots in his last 5 game weeks. That's not too bad for a defender, really. And he has managed to score during this time as well. Wolves is a great fixture at home as well. So we do expect that. Obviously, Arsenal and Man City are the two main candidates for a clean sheet this game week. But Liverpool, I would say, are probably the third best placed team in the Premier League this week for a clean sheet. And if Trent can also get on the score sheet with a goal or an assist as well as a clean sheet, we could be looking at that mega score that helps make the difference between maybe an 150k rank and a 100k rank, for example. So this could be the guy to take you through if you can afford to go for him. Kai Havertz, I'm not sure exactly how differential he is, but I have to be honest with you guys. Well, I've looked through my mini leagues, I look through a lot of your guys' team when you send them to me over on social media, and I often see that there's not actually too many Arsenal players, particularly Arsenal attackers in your teams at the moment. Maybe Saka, and I think even a lot of people don't even have him anymore in their team. So Kai Havertz could be a really nice solution to a midfield problem if you do have a midfield problem. 7.5 million, a decent price there that most people will be able to afford, and at 8.4% ownership, he is fairly differential. Now, we know about Kai Havertz recently. He's been getting goals and assists. He seems to be on the score sheet, scoring FPL points every single game that he plays at the moment, and that's kind of backed up by his numbers as well. Pretty strong here. 2.2 XG, 1.44 XA over the past 5 game weeks. That combines to make a pretty decent viewing here. Everton at home is the fixture, an Everton team with absolutely nothing to play for here, playing away from home. Arsenal at home, Arsenal must-win game. It's a huge game and a huge opportunity for a player like Kai Havertz, a midfielder in FPL who is playing as a striker in real life. Okay, let's start to get a little bit more differential now. And Xiao Pedro is a player that I don't think too many people will be talking about. Coming off the back of a recent injury, he is expected to be back in the Brighton team come this weekend. And it's a home game against Manchester United. And we all know what an opportunity that fixture is at the moment. Xiao Pedro also a player on penalties, which is always very useful in FPL, as we've learnt time and time again this season. And in general, Xiao Pedro provides the best attacking threat of all Brighton players. So if Xiao Pedro is able to play in this weekend's fixture, he is going to be the main attacking threat against a super leaky Manchester United defence, and therefore you will probably expect him to get some points. Huge potential, high upside, differential player for a nice cheap price tag as well. Hey, if you want to go really out there, Xiao Pedro could be your guy. Okay, this one is a little bit of an easier sell. Mateta. I don't think anyone is going to disagree with me when I say it. Mateta could be an excellent differential for game week 38. Now, a lot of people already on that combination of Haaland, Jackson, and Isak as their 3 forwards at the moment. But if you fancy going away from that template, Mateta would probably be the first player I would look at, to be perfectly honest, guys. At 5.5% ownership, he is differential, and he has been a goal-scoring machine recently. Now, we already spoke about the fact that this Aston Villa at home game is a huge opportunity for an in-form Crystal Palace team who still have a little bit to play for. Aston Villa qualified for Champions League, very much on the beach now, conceding a whole bunch of chances in every competition they play, playing games a lot as well. They played a lot of fixtures recently, and it seems like this is the one. This is the one. If you want to go differential for some cheap players who have high upside, could get huge scores. I mean, we saw what the likes of Mateta, Eze did in that double game week a few weeks ago in game week 34. Can Mateta do it again and pull out a huge scoreline? I definitely think there is potential here in game week 38, which is always a high scoring game week anyway. I think this could be a huge one for the big man who seems to be unstoppable when it comes to scoring goals at the moment. Leandro Trossard is a player we need to speak about today. I've seen people make comparisons that Trossard is the equivalent of, Man City's Mahrez or maybe Liverpool's Jota, in the sense that whenever this player is fit, available and playing regularly, well, they become an excellent FPL asset. And that's exactly what we're seeing from Trossard at the moment. He seems to be reasonably nailed on at the moment. He is playing every single game at left wing for Arsenal. And given that this is another must-win game for Arsenal, I can't see them changing the formula when they seem to keep winning. And that formula involves Trossard on the left wing. So if you want to go a little bit cheaper for your Arsenal attacker and a little bit more differential too, then Trossard at 3.2% ownership could be the guy for you. He's taking plenty of shots. He's playing pretty directly as well. And that's kind of backed up by the fact that his XG numbers are actually slightly higher than Kai Havertz over this period of 5 game weeks. So really interesting one. I do like the look of Trossard, and I think if you fancy going different this week to the usual kind of Havertz, Saka, kind of Arsenal attackers like that, Ødegaard, maybe Trossard is actually the hidden gem for you. Okay, we're getting really differential here with a 2% ownership Michael Olise, and what a player he is. Whenever he is fit and available, he's another one of those players who almost becomes a must-buy in many senses because he's just so good at footy. He really is, and whenever he is fit, just like now, we see goals and assists. Now, he is outperforming, overperforming his numbers, but that is just the kind of player he is because he takes a lot of his shots from range, typically low XG chances. What we often see is an overperformance, but that overperformance is something that has been backed up consistently throughout the couple of years we've seen him play in the Premier League. He will consistently overperform because of the type of shots that he is taking, and therefore we might see a few more of them in this huge opportunity game against Aston Villa. I mean, there's only so much I can hype up this fixture for Crystal Palace, but Olise, a set piece taker often, maybe even a penalty taker occasionally as well, playing in great form at the moment, is in good fitness, actually slightly better fitness than Eze at the moment. I think this is a huge opportunity going into this game week, and I think that Olise, out of all of these players spoken about today, is probably my favourite differential of the game week, and I'm sure a few of you guys will agree with that one too. Brennan Johnson, 1.8% ownership, and he faces Sheffield United. Now, if you're not too confident in a Heung-min Son to carry you through, or maybe you just think Son is just not differential enough, then how about the much cheaper Brennan Johnson as an alternative? Because he seems to be a player in reasonably good form for Spurs at the moment as well. I mean, as far as Spurs form goes, because, obviously they haven't been at the top of their game recently. But Brennan Johnson against Sheffield United, a very much relegated team, playing for nothing, playing with freedom, presumably, and Spurs looking to make a statement after their loss against Manchester City. And we know that they don't really have enough fit players to rotate either. You would imagine that Brennan Johnson is a pretty much nailed-on starter for Game Week 38, which we've not really seen from him before. Well, I think all of this adds up and concludes a opportunity. Now, I'm not saying that Johnson is the best player on this list. I would perhaps prefer to go for a player like Olise or Trossard, but still, against Sheffield United, you never know what can happen. And if this scoreline is as big as we think it could be, this is Sheffield United. Now times it by how many goals we often see in Game Week 38. We could have a monster scoreline here. And if we do, and Brennan Johnson is involved in a couple of goals, hey, we're looking at a big FPL score. So there is an opportunity here for sure. And the most differential of differentials on today's video, in today's list, is Tomiyasu. Yes, Takahiro Tomiyasu, 0.3% ownership. That is a hyper differential that not too many people will be going for. Now, I have to say, Tomiyasu seems reasonably nailed on in that left-back position. Again, going back to what I said about Trossard, I don't expect Mikel Arteta to change the winning formula at this moment and in another must-win game. And Arsenal keeping clean sheets every single game. At Everton at home is going to be no different. In fact, this is probably one of the better chances of a clean sheet that we've seen in a few weeks for Arsenal, and they seem to be doing it every week anyway. So, real nice opportunity for clean sheet points against Everton at home, and you can get into the Arsenal defence for just 4.5 million. How often do we get to say that? Not very often. So if you are looking for a new defender and you want that player to be pretty cheap and you have an open Arsenal slot for this game week, why not go for Tomiyasu? If you can't quite afford a Saliba or a White, Tomiyasu could be the answer to all of your problems. Hey, how about that? And also, what is something that is underrated about Tomiyasu is his attacking threat. He's actually got better XG numbers over the past 5 game weeks than the likes of Ben White, who people often consider the more attacking. Now, Ben White a little bit more creative, but I've been seeing Tomiyasu in some dangerous positions recently, getting some opportunities to be in and around the box, especially against a team like Everton, who probably will sit a little bit deeper, allowing Tomiyasu the freedom to get a little further forward. So I think this is, again, another really nice opportunity, cheap differential defender that you can go for ahead of game week 38, given the fact that they have the best clean sheet odds for the game week. Arsenal, it just seems to be a nice differential to go for. Now, of course, if you want a player with much higher potential, you know, we're looking at midfielders and forwards, really, mostly midfielders. And in terms of those defenders with the high potential for huge points, again, you're probably going to be looking at a Guardiola or a Trent AlexanderArnold before you look at a Tomiyasu. But still, I think there's opportunities here. So, yeah, that is the final differential of the video. Please do let me know what you thought about the differentials I spoke about today. Is there any ones here that you really like the look of? Or is there any ones that actually you think, okay, that is just not going to work. That is a terrible pick. I am never picking that player for my fantasy team. And if you've got any other suggestions of players that we haven't spoken about today, I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. So do let me know. And if you enjoyed this one, make sure you do drop a like, do subscribe if you are new around here. We'll be back tomorrow for the 100 experts video. Yes, we're doing it one day later. Every video is going to be one day later from here on this week as we go into the Game Week 38 deadline on Sunday. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Check out another video, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.